WNDRTALK.
So I was driving home tonight after going to the gym, and I took time to take this scenic route, and I ended up driving past where I'm going to school, and I went through these really nice neighborhoods, and it was like sunset, so like the vibe was just really nice and soothing. The sky looked really nice, and I was just listening to music, and I just got me some coffee, and was just driving around, and I was looking at these really nice houses, and I was just sitting there thinking, like, wow, like what did these people have to do to get to this point where this is their reality, this is their life. I'm sure they had to work really hard. I'm sure there's so many different scenarios and situations that played out. But you know, they looked very nice, these houses, right? In this neighborhood. And so I'm just like thinking to myself, like, man, like this reminds me that there's so much that you can obtain and work for in life. And no matter where you are, like where I live, it's a, diverse community, I would consider myself somewhere in the middle class place, if that's even a thing that exists, right? But I've always been appreciative of the upbringing that I've had and the things that I've had. But when I would drive through neighborhoods like that in my town, I'm just like, okay, well, what are these people doing in this area that have led them to be able to afford this kind of life, this kind of lifestyle, these nice cars, these things, and at this point in my life, in my early 30s, there's been so many changes over the last couple of years that I always feel like I'm constantly laying down the foundation, the foundation for something new, for new goals and new aspirations. And I'm like, okay, did they know exactly what they wanted from the jump? Like, I'm not even talking about graduation. I'm talking about like from when they were kids, was their life set up in a way where this was possible, And it's not that I looked at these houses with envy, that I looked at these houses and things with this like jealousy. I just was like, okay, like there's so much possible. There's so many possibilities. Like we oftentimes go through life and cap it, and we think that we get what we deserve. And what we have is what we're going to get, what we've always gotten, and to not expect anything different, and that, people are just different. You have rich, poor, in between, whatever. And it's not really even about money or material things, because I think no matter what, like even those people in those nice homes driving those nice cars are not content, that they still feel like they have to work towards something. They have goals, they have aspirations, just like anybody else. So I don't think that you hit this magic moment and you go, I'm good. This is where I'm at. Now, I think it's nice to feel content. It's nice to feel like what you have is all you need. And I honestly have felt that way in a lot of moments here recently in my life. And that's kind of been interesting to experience. I'm working hard on different things. I'm finishing up school. I have a family now. I was recently married this year, or got married this year, and life is just, it feels brand new. There's like a new breath of life. But like in that, you still have goals and you still have aspirations, and you're kind of looking at yourself as like, man, like I'm always putting down the foundation to like this new set of like goals that better represent where I am in my life right now, today. And I felt that way driving around. I was just like, man, I haven't recorded a podcast. I actually even told myself I wasn't going to really do the podcast anymore. I was telling myself I was going to just do YouTube. I was going to stream. I was going to do all these things. And there's been so many reimaginings of this brand, this content that I've put out over the years. Now, I started WNDRSOUL in 2018. And there's moments where I think, like, what if I had an idea and had started then and consistently had just mastered that craft or whatever it was that I was working on for all those years. And I'll never know. Like, I think that's why even today, as I sit down and record, I feel like I'm starting over. I feel like I'm reimagining what I want for this, for WNDRSOUL. And I feel like this has always felt like an extension of myself. It's always felt like it always seems to be a mirror to where I am in life and what I'm interested in. And, you know, that's always been something that I've tried to make consistent throughout all the changes and all the varieties of this, whatever you want to call it. Content, I guess. That word gets thrown out so often, but yeah, it's interesting that, you know, no matter where you are in life, it just always feels like maybe you're starting over, you know, and even though you've already put so much time and effort and work, and even tonight I was just having to re-educate myself on how to record and what I needed to do, because it's just felt like so long, and yet I feel so comfortable and I feel like so relaxed as I start to talk to you and get to just express my thoughts and feelings on life and different things that I find interesting and fun. And, you know, I've tried different things over the years. I've tried streaming on Twitch. I've tried making YouTube videos and stuff. And it's worked out here and there from different examples, like just different videos I've been able to make and put out, like I've enjoyed and I'm proud of. And, you know, I've met a lot of cool people through streaming, but, you know, I kind of got to a point where I was like, I'm losing sight of like actually being myself and being able to connect and being able to express, because I'm trying to mimic a process that everyone or you know, on the internet or who does things similar is trying to say, like, this is the formula that you have to follow. And so I was like constantly like breaking down everything and rebuilding it and trying to lay down a new foundation and trying to reinvent whatever I was trying to do. And, you know, when I'm driving through that neighborhood tonight, you know, I'm wondering, do these people think that they're successful? Like, I think everyone has a different idea of what success is. You know, some people it's like, you know, I'm just happy. I feel loved by my family and friends, and I enjoy what I do, and I'm healthy, and that's success. Some people it's like, I have a lot of money and I do a lot of things and I buy a lot of stuff, and that's success. Some people it's popularity and attention and fame and all these different things. So everybody has their own version of what success is. And, you know, I think as you get older, you start to experience life. And some of those answers that you think you figured out back in your 20s or wherever you are in life, like whatever era that was the one that preceded the one that you're in now, you feel like okay, I got all these things checked off. I know what I want. I know who I am. And then sometimes the table gets wiped clean. You're having to start over, and you're just like, okay, well, now the game has changed and I have changed with it. So that's kind of how I feel tonight, you know, as far as sitting down and recording. I really enjoy just being myself behind a mic and talking with you, and hopefully in the future talking with friends and strangers on these episodes. But it feels so much better than having to stare at a camera or having to stream for hours on end. I think this is like where I've always felt, you know, the truest version of myself when it comes to making content. You know, to some extent, I think all content is performative in in some ways. It's like an expression of yourself that's sometimes exaggerated, but, you know, I've been kind of scared to do that, especially now having a family and putting my time and energy into so many different things that are so new. Like, this has always been something I was willing to put to the side and put on the shelf because I felt like these other things were more important. And but I've always felt like, hey, there's still so much I want to talk about and do and express. I just need to, sit down and start doing it. So that's what we're doing tonight. So, this is me laying down the foundation again with a new episode under a new idea. This is Wonder Talk, and hopefully on a weekly basis, I'm able to sit down and talk to you guys and have guests on as often as possible to just share conversations about life and interests and passions and things, and really just get back to the root of why I started doing this in the first place, and be able to connect with you guys once again. There'll be a variety of interesting topics, at least topics I find interesting. Some might not be for everyone, and some, might bring out some curiosity and wonder for you. And you'll be like, I never looked into that, or never read that book, or watched that movie, or played that game, or, whatever. I have a variety of interests and hobbies, and this is a place, an outlet for me to talk about them. And hopefully it finds people that also share in some of these interests, and we can have a good time. Because one of the bigger motivating quotes or little things that I came across here this summer while I was really trying to figure out how I wanted to approach doing Wonder Talk. And it was like, create the thing that you wish it existed. And there's so many times I think I fell into the trappings of trying to make the thing that people had a proven formula that was already out there, but it was just your version of it. And there's nothing wrong with that, but there's so much of that. And you have to be very lucky. It's very special when you are able to branch out of a already existing genre. I mean, podcasting in general, since even from when I started it in 2018, has evolved in so many different ways. I mean, there's pressure right now for me to have a video podcast, to have reels and TikToks, and be really present on social media. And I think I just when I started to think about all of those things, it really zapped all the motivation and energy I had to do this. So not to say those won't be things that I explore in the future. It definitely helps, in today's world, to get your brand or your product and your content out there. But for the meantime, I think I just want to start back just sitting here behind a mic, putting out an episode a week, talking and sharing with you guys my thoughts and feelings on different things and going from there. So this is in some ways a reimagining, and that's okay. I've started over so many different times and started something brand new. So this is familiar territory. This also hopefully kind of bleeds into one of the topics I wanted to bring up today on this episode, because if you think about it, how many versions of Superman have we had, right? How many times has that character been reimagined and brought to the big screen, or in the comics, or on, cartoons and different things? I mean, there's so many properties out there that end up being remade, remastered, reimagined by different people, different creatives who have a different story to tell. And when it came to this Superman that I actually was able to see with my wife this weekend, we went to this movie theater that's an hour away. It has a very 90s, more early 2000s aesthetic. Very, very cool. Just small town, but very, I don't know. It just feels like the people that work there love movies. It's clean. It's cool. We've had a lot of great memories and moments there. We've gone to some really cool movies like The Batman, and there's so many more. And we just have a good time. There's a nice little, hole in the wall Chinese and Thai restaurant that we go to, and that's where we end up eating after we see the movie. And it's just a good, kind of a special date for us. We both share a passion for movies and great storytelling. And so, she knew I was very excited for this Superman. I was very excited. I thought from the casting to James Gunn being involved and him revamping the whole DCU. Because that's another thing. Like, not only is it Superman being reimagined and being done again in a different way, it's also the DCU. And I've always been a fan of DC. And I've even given all of the previous Snyder, versions of those characters a chance. I've watched those movies. I love the animated series. I love the comics. I was always a big Batman fan growing up. Really when it comes to Marvel, I was more of a Spider-Man, X-Men guy. Maybe that's just the 90s kid in me, right? I don't know how many of you listening can relate to that, but yeah, like growing up watching those animated series, reading those comics, those were always my go-tos. Now, obviously with the MCU, the Avengers and other characters that people aren't super familiar with are now so popular. They're more popular than some of the ones that were popular when I was growing up, and it's just so funny. But yeah, like I from the trailer, the teaser trailer of Superman 2025, man, it got me emotional. I would watch it over and over again, and then I would watch reactions, and then it got me teary, got me emotional. Like, this movie even got me emotional. I don't know. I think I just was really longing for a hopeful, optimistic, bright superhero movie, one that could stand on its own. And this movie does. Now, I know a lot of people have said, like, wow, there's a lot going on in this movie. And there is. But how many times have we seen this origin story? How many times have we seen this character and this story play out in some ways? I think at this point with these characters and these properties, we don't have to start from scratch unless it's somebody that has not been given the opportunity to be presented on the big screen like that. Like, there's no need for us to see Batman's parents die again, or Uncle Ben get shot, or, just all these things. Like, we get it. They're part of our popular culture, and really these are supposed to be ways for people to broaden and extend back to their source material. And so, like, you watch Superman 25 or 2025 and you're like, oh, dude, I want more Superman. So then you go to your local comic book shop, or you find certain books or things at your local bookstore. Like it's supposed to promote a bigger property. So it was actually kind of refreshing to watch a movie like Superman and see, like, there's already this established world. And just to put it out there, there's full-fledged spoilers here. So if you've not seen Superman 2025, please go see it. Like, highest recommendation, movie of the summer. I haven't seen Fantastic Four yet. That comes out at the end of the month. I'm excited for that too. But honestly, I haven't been super invested in the Marvel movies lately. But I actually do like the Fantastic Four. And I'm excited to see the retro futuristic vibes and aesthetic there, and see what they do with some of the stories, how they connect it. That's always the thing about Marvel, is like, how do they connect it to everything else? But here it was like kind of just like jumping into an episode of the Superman animated series, but you're like already, 3 seasons in, episode, 14, and you're like, oh, okay, there's all this stuff already, so let's just go with it. But that's fun. I think one of the actors, I think it was David Corenswet, who is the actor who plays Superman, kind of made the connection that this movie was more like a Star Wars versus a Marvel movie, where, when you watched Star Wars for the first time, there was an established universe, there was a lot of things already happening. After that, you can dive into it. You can break it down. You can spin off and extend it. And that's what they're going to do with this DCU. There's already heroes in this universe. There's plenty of stories that have already been told, probably, and maybe we will get those in time. But it was actually kind of fresh to just kind of hit the ground running and just kind of go along for the ride and enjoy it for what it is, instead of feeling like, oh, I got to watch this before I watch that. And, but that's eventually that will happen more than likely. It's going to be hard. I don't think you have to watch Superman before you watch Supergirl when it comes out next year, but it definitely like enhances your watching experience. I think the Marvel movies kind of got to a point where it was like, if you do not watch that, you do not know what's going on. Like, it is a must. And that's comic books, right? Like, I love events in comics sometimes, but then again, I don't. I hate them. Like, so it's like a love-hate relationship, because at the same time, events will happen, especially like over the summer, and then they'll be like, okay, you gotta buy these books, but then like you gotta buy these other books, and then if you really want to know what's going on, then you're gonna read this book, and then it's like, oh, dude, it's too much. And especially when Marvel started to go from, well, we have our movies, but now we also have our shows on Disney Plus, and yada yada yada. Now, like DCU, you got Peacemaker season 2 coming out. You got The Lanterns, which is going to be great. It's like True Detective in space. Sign me up. You got other movies like Clayface is going to be like a body horror gore fest, like rated R film. Like, just, I don't know. I just feel like it's going to bring out a lot of unique ideas. I think Marvel kind of got away from that. It was fun when they're like, yo, Rocket Raccoon or Ant-Man, just like, what? Who are these? What? These off the wall characters? And I think James Gunn loves those kind of heroes and characters. So I think we're going to see that. But dude, getting back to Superman, I was really excited. Went to this theater, and from start to finish, I had a smile on my face, dude. Like, I just enjoyed it. It was like, first of all, the seats were hella comfortable. That makes a big difference. But I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, yeah, I have high expectations, but I really hope, like, by the end of this film, I just feel good, and I feel happy, and I feel satisfied. And I did, dude. Like, I really did. And that's the beauty of movies. Like, when you're able to go to the theater, you shut your phone off, you're in this dark room with other people, and you're able to just really focus and have so many distractions that are in your everyday life just be put on mute. That's so nice. I don't know. Like, I enjoy that now. Maybe I'm just getting older, but, so you're fully immersed in the story and what you're seeing. And, yeah, just like, I loved everything that I saw. Like, it wasn't a perfect movie, there's never going to be that, but from Guy Gardner to Lois Lane and the casting, man, dude, it's just like Mr. Terrific was awesome. Dude, Nicholas Hoult playing Lex was, grade A hater, and was fantastic. And David Cornsweet, man, I love Henry Cavill. I think that he just never got the fair shot when it came to Superman. I think if you put Henry Cavill in this kind of world of Superman, he would have done fine. But like David Cornsweet's version here, I don't know. I just really related to, I just really vibed with, and the story was very hopeful. It was very much about getting to the root of Superman being, hey, the real punk rock here now is just being nice to people, helping people. Like, there's so much hatred. There's so much anger, going out and helping people. And, even from the biggest to the smallest things, like, it can make a difference. And if you have the ability to do that, like Superman, why not? You should. And that's something that I think when people think of the character of Superman, they don't give enough credit. It's like, this guy has all these abilities. He could have selfishly just used them for power or for his own, selfish wants and needs. But instead, he dresses up with underwear on his, on the outside, and kind of looking silly sometimes. But he goes out there and saves people, and he tries to represent the best in humanity. And that was also kind of themes in this. I really liked like the Silver Age sci-fi aspects. I mean, there's a giant kaiju. There's a lot of cool things like that. The action and effects were just spot on, from Crypto to like all of Superman's powers being on full display. It was just really fun, man. I don't know. It just felt like I just was getting so burnt out on, like, what if these heroes were grounded in the real world? I'm like, the real world can be such a downer sometimes. Like, I would really just like to escape to Metropolis or to Gotham City and just get away from what the world is and just see that version of it, and to not take ourselves so seriously. And I think that's what James Gunn was able to do with this film. Like, there's a lot of heart in this movie. There's a lot of love for this character and for these characters. And I'm really excited to see what they do, from Hot Girl to like the whole Justice Gang, right? And you got this whole idea that there's metahumans out there. So we'll see like what happens. And, I'm just really excited for the future of the DCU. I think this was such a nice foundation for what to expect. I think the marketing was great. I think the aesthetics and the costumes and the music, the score, man, the score was really good. Now, James Gunn, usually he's a big fan of, music in general, but from Guardians of the Galaxy, there's always like moments in these movies where there's a lot of music and stuff, and he kind of was able to just rely on the score. There's a couple moments, but man, I just really had a good time, man. I remember like getting emotional at the end. There's a closing scene that got me, and I just just felt good. And I was like really happy that it didn't disappoint. And I was like, okay, if this does good, if it makes the money, if it gets the ratings and reviews from people, and the good word of mouth, we should be fine. Warner Brothers should, go, okay, here we go. Let's go. Let's get it. I'm sure James Gunn felt a certain level of pressure. He's handling a lot of different projects, and, he even speaks about it lately, how he just feels like he's worked extremely hard in the last year or two, just writing and getting these projects made. So shout out to James. Take a break, dude. I'm really looking forward to everything that comes after this. I really enjoyed Superman. I could probably geek out some more. There's a lot of cool moments and scenes, but overall, I just felt like a very uplifting feeling after, and I'm a sucker for that, dude. And maybe I kind of needed that. Maybe watching Superman this past weekend kind of gave me some, I don't know, just like good feelings, and now I feel like I'm in a good headspace to sit down and start recording again. I don't know, maybe, who knows. But yeah, so that I really just wanted to express like how cool of a movie that was, and I hope that if you guys haven't seen it, that you go check it out. And if you have, I would like to hear what your thoughts are on the film, and what are your hopes and aspirations for the future of the DCU, and what movies in general this summer have you enjoyed or looking forward to. Before we wrap up, because I don't want to hold you guys super, super long, especially on these solo episodes, got some shout outs. Shout out to WWE Evolution this weekend, the all women's PPE. Wait, premium live PLE. What did I say? PPE? What is that? Anyways, PLE, premium live event, pay-per-view, whatever you call it. Dude, that shit was awesome. Like, Saturday night's main event was kind of a letdown. One of my favorite wrestlers, Seth freaking Rollins, got hurt. At least that's what we haven't heard anything official. Could be a work. Could not be real. We'll see. He has had knee issues in the past, so we'll see. But shout out to all the women. That live event was great. Happened Sunday night. That main event between Rhea Ripley and Io Sky was fantastic. It was cinema. It was a classic, and they should do these more often. I think it's been 7 years or so between this Evolution, the last one, the first and only one. So I thought it was just a huge success. Happened in Atlanta. The crowd in Atlanta was really good. And weirdly, I've been hearing that the tickets weren't too bad. And what's funny is when you actually make tickets to events more affordable for people, I'm sure you get better crowds. I could almost like, if I could show data for that, I would, but I can't. But yeah, so loved Evolution. Looking forward to what comes next. What is it? SummerSlam. I've been kind of in and out. I've been staying in tune with WWE. I actually don't have Netflix right now. Been taking a break from that. I can't have all these streaming services, dude. What are we talking about? Like, nah, I'm not going to do that. So I took a break from that, which means I don't get to watch Monday Night Raw for a little bit, but dude, they do so good with their YouTube and social media presence that you don't really truly miss out. Shout out to College Football 26. I haven't gotten the opportunities to really deep dive into that video game. But look, dude, after going so long without having NCAA football games, I'm just thankful that we're still getting them now. Like 25 was fun, had a good time with that. 26 looks promising. I'm sure people are going to have their gripes. There's these games, that sport is so hard to replicate. And it just gives me so much more respect for the dev teams that go through the hell to put these games out every year. But yeah, like I got it for my Xbox. I can't wait to start a Dynasty. I guess I just haven't been in the football mood just yet, because I know here coming up in August, things are going to heat up, and like between NFL and college football, I'm going to start getting it more invested, and my little vacation from football and really a lot of sports, will be over, and I'll be locked in. Fantasy football will be here, college football Saturdays, NFL Sundays, which we all know also is Mondays, which is also Thursday. It's a whole thing. It's a big investment, but I'm just happy that we're getting more football games in general. And yeah, let me know if you guys have played college football 26 or NCAA 26, because no matter what, that's what I'll call it. The OGs know. The OGs know. And one last thing, I don't know if people know this, because I'm actually putting this podcast out on Spotify first. I'm actually going through the Spotify creators, setup. So looking forward to see how that was. I was actually spending like $15 a month using Podbean for like the longest. And, yeah, it's just nice to see this free alternative that seems like it's promising. But for those that have Spotify Premium and like books, dude, you have a lot of audio books and you need to check them out. This is not a plug or promo or anything, but me and my wife just came across this because we have been fans of Audible, and I've been trying to find things to do that are like less screen time, and making sure that my screen time is intentional, because I'm doing online schooling, and then when I game or if I sit down and record here or make content, I was just like getting really like headaches and just like my eyes. So now it's like I'm trying to like read more and do some other things that are away from my phone screen, my computer, TV, all that stuff, right? And audiobooks have been great. Reading has been great. I'm starting to get back into that and have been on and off. But yeah, there's a lot of audiobooks that are available to you on Spotify. So check that out. Like if you haven't yet and you have premium, you might as well. And maybe, you might find yourself canceling Audible. I don't know. To me, it kind of looked like more of like the Xbox Game Pass for audiobooks, because you're not going to own these books, just like you don't own the music you listen to on Spotify. But, might be worth a check out. And if you guys have been listening to any audiobooks or reading, let me know what you guys have been checking out. If you got any suggestions, I'm trying to get back into like reading some fantasy and sci-fi and stuff like that, and even some self-help books and stuff like that. So if you guys have any recommendations, let me know. But yeah, that's going to be it for this episode. I didn't want to go too long, and I feel like I already did. But yeah, hopefully we can sit down and talk week to week. As things continue, I'll have more updates for what to expect for Wonder Talk here on Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope you guys are doing well. And thank you for giving me your attention and time. And until the next episode, I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.
Wonder Soul. Wonder Soul. Wonder Soul.